Today on Gun Talk Hunt, we're talking with Aaron Oelger of Hodgdon Powders. We're talking Dr. Deer evaluating a special property. And heck, why not? We're covering all the new gunpowders right now.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome in Gun Talk Hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and today we've got Mr. Aaron Oelger from Hodgdon Powders. And today we're brought to you by Ruger Firearms and Leupold. They make awesome glass, so go give them a look. Aaron, welcome in, man.
Hey, thanks for having us.
We're it was so funny because SHOT Show goes by so quick, and sometimes like I just feel like at SHOT Show you'll either see a lot of people and you'll see the same ones over and over, and there's some people that you never do see, and you just happen to fall into that category. I never got to see you, man.
Yeah, same. I missed you at SHOT Show. It was a really interesting SHOT Show for us. It was extremely busy, or probably busier than I expected.
Well, that's always a good thing, right?
It's absolutely a good thing. You want lots of people coming by your booth, and we had that in spades. We were extremely busy the whole week with stop-in people, and then my calendar. You know how it is. I've got back-to-back meetings practically the whole week. So yeah. It was a really, really good SHOT Show, though. Lots of optimism. People are excited to be back together again. Lots of really good hunting stories from the fall. So
and we're gonna talk about a lot of those. But one thing that really helps out with having a busy booth is actually having new product to talk about.
Sure.
And I don't know how you do it. You know, you would think just keep producing what you've got, but it seems like you guys are coming out with more powders now than you have in years.
Yeah, it's a really interesting process. I've never quite worked at a company like Hodgdon before. You know, I've been in the industry for, 18 years or so. And normally new products are the lifeblood of any company. It is a little bit different at Hodgdon. You know, you look at our top 10 powders, some of them have been around for 30, 50, 70 years, right? So that is a little bit different. But all in all, new products are still important. And when you look at some of our old kind of tried and true favorites, for example, Retumbo, we just cannot get enough Retumbo into the marketplace right now to meet demand. If you look at demand, what it was like 5, 7, 8 years ago for Retumbo, it's completely different today. And we simply cannot get enough Retumbo out there. So we started looking for some alternatives several years ago. We came out with, I think one of the really cool things about Hodgdon Powder Company is we have so many brands to play with, right? So we licensed the Winchester brand about 12 years ago. We work very closely with the Winchester team. And one of the cool things about being a Winchester licensee is you get access to the brain power at Winchester, right? And that's pretty cool. And several years ago, we at Hodgdon kind of brought them a concept for a new series that we're calling Stay Ball. So the interesting thing about Stay Ball is it's a ball powder that is also temp stable, right? So you get the best of both worlds. You can load it in a progressive loader, but yet it's temp stable. We put a copper fouling elimination agent in it. Just a really cool concept. And we came out with our first product in this new family called Stay Ball 6.5. So it was really for that, 6 Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor, that type of burn speed. Came out with that about 3 years ago. That was very successful for us. People jumped on it pretty quick. And we were developing kind of right behind that, we were developing another couple of burn speeds to go with that. So at SHOT Show a couple of weeks ago, we introduced 2 new burn speeds. So the first of that is Stay Ball Match. So that is a Varget burn speed, if you will, somewhere around the Varget burn speed. So not exact. Look up the load data on HodgdonReloading.com. But it's a really cool burn speed that satisfies a lot of cartridge needs, right? So it is, if you think about Varget, Match is going to be very close to that. 223 Remington, 224 Valkyrie, 22-250, 308.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that 22-250. That's when that's my next project. is getting a good 22-250 load with that match.
Yeah, and I think I've already sent you some. So,
Yeah.
so Stay Ball Match really kind of fixes us in that burn speed area. The second one, which really fixes the problem with not enough Rotumbo being in the marketplace, is it's a Stay Ball HD, is a real magnum slow burning powder that fixes that gap for us right there. And I'm really excited about that. So think about what I just described. So a ball powder that's temperature insensitive and has copper fouling elimination agent built in, and it gets you that burn speed for like the new PRCs, right? The 6.5, the 7, the 300.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool combination. And we have been overwhelmed by that, by the demand for that since we introduced it. We sold a lot of that in a hurry at SHOT Show. A lot of consumer demand, but a lot of dealer demand for that. So we have another load coming in a couple of weeks, and we'll be shipping that out. But both of those powders are available on our website, Hodgdon.com. So you can get them today. But those it was exciting to be back at SHOT for all the reasons I listed before, but it was really cool to be bringing new products to SHOT and have that interaction with both dealers and consumers there.
Well, and especially, I mean, that kind of falls shortly in line with like the new firearms introduced, because everybody's going to be clamoring to get a hold of more components for that 7 PRC. It just seems that's the direction a lot of guys are starting to head. And is that just the trend we're in right now? And I mean, you guys had to have been on the heels of this pretty quick, because with a kind of almost, it seems like almost a cap in Rotumbo, guys have been, I mean, clamoring for something to match that. And that seems like what you guys have already like worked forward to that with the Stay Ball HD.
We did. We saw that coming several years ago. I'm not a PRS guy myself. I'm a hunter, right? So I reload to hunt primarily. And I tend to be a rifle guy. I shoot a little bit of handgun, shoot a little bit of shotgun, but I don't know that anybody would accuse me of being a shotgun shooter as far as I get at the trap range. But I do enjoy shooting rifles, and we work quite a bit with George Gardner from GA Precision here in Kansas City. And we actually shared that with him and his team early on, got to get some feedback about HD and match. We shot the 2 new videos supporting that product that are now out on YouTube. Those were shot with George at his range here outside of Kansas City. His range is 15 minutes from my house. So that's primarily where I'll go and shoot, which is nice. So we really like working with that group, and that gave us some insight into 7 PRC before that was introduced, right? We work a lot with the Hornady team. And so we had some insight into 7 before it came to market. And when we shot these videos for HD and match, I was out at George's place, and we were shooting a 6.5 and a 7 PRC back to back, same rifle, but different calibers, and trying to understand the capabilities of both of those. No surprise, George can shoot way better than Aaron can, no question. But it's always a good experience to be out at George's. He has a level of insight and knowledge about rifle shooting that you just can't find a lot of people who have that level of knowledge. And I've known him for years and always liked being around the guys. So yeah, we had a little bit of insight into what was coming and made sure that we had the right powders to support that.
It's fantastic. And I was really impressed with the Stay Ball 6.5, because that's what I chose this year, because I started out with Varget and developing a 6.5 Creedmoor load, and it just wasn't getting where I wanted it to. And I just didn't feel like my bullet performance was going to be as good. And then you sent me some 6.5, the Stay Ball 6.5, and my gosh, the numbers just leaped ahead of where I thought they would be. And so I've loved the Stay Ball line. And I cannot wait to start the 22-250. And yep, I'm going to have to get another gun. So I hope my wife's not watching this.
Yeah, no. And that's one of the downfalls of going to SHOT Show, right? Is it's not just that you get to see your friends and business partners and things of that nature. You also get to see the new products, the new rifles that are out. And I came home a couple bucks lighter because of that too.
That's right. You slid into that Seekins booth, didn't you?
I did, man. I'm a fan of what Glenn
I'll
Seekins
tell
is
you,
doing over
those
there.
guys are doing some cool things over there. Like
Yeah, they really are.
whew, they're doing some good stuff. And did you ever get, because we were talking about it a week ago or so, like something like that, about they've got a new stock and they've got different camo colors, and one of them is like a bright orange, and it just pops. It's just cool. Did you ever
Yeah.
see that one?
So you and I were talking about that when I was in my car driving to our Montana office, and I forgot to write that down. And in typical fashion, I have already forgotten about that. So I will go and jump on.
Gotta go check it out.
I will jump
It's
on the
pretty
interwebs
cool.
as soon as we're done and try to find that. I would like to see those pictures.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Man, I think I've got some. I'll check my phone, make sure I've because I think I took some pictures of it. But you had a busy fall. And I think we should talk some hunting stories, because I think that's what guys want. We're going to do that on the other side of this break, though. So listen to a word from these sponsors, and we'll be right back with some hunting stories. We'd like to jump in here and thank our sponsors, Ruger. They launched a new Ruger Security 380. So if you're out on the hiking trail, or you're out, in the backwoods looking for sheds or anything like that, the Ruger Security 380 is a great little handgun to have around, just all those creepy crawly snakes that you don't want to mess with. Light rack system, so it's easy to rack and it's easy to control, so you can make better shots, especially after getting the crap scared out of you by a snake, which has definitely happened to me before. Check out Ruger.com to learn more. And Leupold, they've got the new BX4 Rangefinder HD binoculars. These are 10 by 42s, and one of the cool things about them, they are compact. They weigh a little bit more than like a Sanium or anything, something like that they offer, but you have a reversible on and off switch, so that you can either program it to turn on and range from the left side or the right side. So whichever you choose. Super clear glass from Leupold, as always, but find out more at leupold.com. And by the way, if you're listening to this, smash that like, subscribe button, do all those cool things, because we couldn't do this without you, and you want to know when the new stuff's coming out. All right, we're back with Aaron Oelger out of Hodgdon Powders, and we're talking, we're kind of recapping fall, because I hate to disturb people in the fall, because I know that's their time to really chase game. And Aaron, we just had a hard time connecting, because, man, you had a good fall. Let's start out in, I guess, New Brunswick. Let's go there first.
Yeah, so I was able to go to New Brunswick on a moose hunt last October, I guess. And it's a hunt that I've been trying to set up for several years. It's a personal hunt. It was not a Hodgdon, not an industry deal. It's just a friend of mine that has been up to this outfitter several times. Had a great time. I met the outfitter. The outfitter came down and hunted with us in Missouri 4 years ago, I guess, right before COVID. And
right.
I liked him quite a bit and said, yeah, I'm in, I want to go. And then COVID happened, right? So nobody could get into Canada for a couple of years. And finally last fall, I was able to go, and it was just an awesome experience. Loved the outfitter, loved the camp, loved everything about how it was set up. It was really cool, the way we were on the mountain, and it was really thick woods that had some clear cuts that was on crown land, and just had a great experience. My hunt lasted all of 43 minutes. So
oh my gosh,
that never happens to me.
That's how you wanted to go.
So I had a great experience of getting to walk about a mile on the first morning and shot my moose. It took us, 3 or 4 hours to get it back to the truck, which was about 150 yards away. But we got it out. And then the rest of the week, I was just the guy that was hanging out in camp and helping everybody else drag their moose out. So
that's pretty cool.
Great experience.
I will say, out of all the animals you could shoot close to the truck, moose is the top. Like that to me, out of hearing everybody talk about them, and they're just ginormous animals, are the New Brunswick moose. They're large units, obviously. On average, like according to Yukon moose, how much smaller are they?
I don't know. I've never hunted Yukon moose. I've seen a lot of pictures. So I'm going to say probably 35% smaller.
Yeah.
There certainly were, I would not say that this was a trophy moose unit. we saw really good moose, and I was extremely happy. I mean, I saw my moose, and he was dead probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 seconds after I saw him through the woods. So
that was pretty quick decision.
It
That's the
didn't take
one.
me a lot of time to go through the decision-making process. I got on him pretty quick and knocked him down, and so that was a really cool hunt. But I was really thrilled with everything about that hunt. A lot of we actually drove back. So we drove back, I don't remember how far that was from New Brunswick to Kansas City, maybe 31 hours. I think we stopped for a little bit,
nice,
maybe 4 or 5 hours to sleep in Indy on the way back. But other than that, we drove straight back because I had 550 pounds of meat in coolers in the back of this rental van. So I was anxious to get home and get it in my freezer. And 550 pounds of meat, that's a lot.
So you drove up there, right?
We flew up, we rented a minivan, and then we drove back.
You drove back with a minivan full of meat?
Absolutely.
Well, I've done that trip. So I've done a trip from Oklahoma up to Fort St. John up in British Columbia. And I think that was right around 34 hours. And on the way up there, we only stopped once. On the way back, I didn't stop. I got to Denver, and that's about 10 hours from where I was living in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And I got tired. My dad was just in my ear the whole time about the meat going bad. And I'm like, that meat is frozen solid back there. I'm not going to open the ice chest because I have the biggest Yeti that Yeti makes, like the biggest one. And I've got all the meat in there, and then 2 other units with dry ice in them. And man, I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, man, I'm just going to drive. And I do not remember the last 7 hours of that drive. Don't remember it.
Same story.
Same story. You get so tired, and it's just like, I'm just going to push through. Like, this is it.
Yeah, we was a great time to hunt that I will remember forever. And, friends make it, right? So I was with my buddy, Matt Campbell, and we just had a great trip, great chance to talk. And everything about that trip was fantastic.
Yeah. So did you already book another hunt with him?
I haven't yet. I will go back, and I'll need to take some friends, but it's one of those where I need to schedule 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah.
I hunt with my buddy, Matt Campbell, that I went with this trip on, and then a third guy, coincidentally named Matt as well. And so we hunt together quite a bit. I really want to go back with all 3 of them, or the 3 of us, the 2 of them. So how was entering Canada? How was that now? Because I haven't done it in about 3 years. Yeah, no COVID restrictions when we went last fall. So it was really easy to get in and even easier to get out. I really thought that they would want to, inspect our firearms, inspect the moose, do all of that. And it was so quick and easy that, I'm sure everybody's mileage may vary. We came through somewhere in upstate Western New York, and it was just the simplest process that I could imagine.
Yeah. And I kind of thought the same thing, like going up one time to Canada. That was only a 24-hour trip up. Man, they strip searched my truck. Like when the Canadian officials, I think we were at the check station for 3.5 hours is how long they stripped everything. They asked for our phones. They asked for, I don't know what the deal was, but coming back through, like you're dealing with mostly Americans coming back through. And they were like, oh, you only brought back 1 gun? Like, here's some more. Like, it's like, here's some more freedom for you. But yeah, I was like, do you need to check all the hides and everything? They're like, oh, you have 2 bears. Okay. Not just 1. You only wanted 2. So I noticed it too. Same thing. Coming back, way easy. Going up, it was a little bit more difficult for me the first time. Every time after that, though, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was super easy. I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, not too bad. Now, I've got to ask what gun you were shooting on that trip.
So that trip, interestingly, I took 2 firearms with me. I took a Remington 700 that actually George Gardner built me 15 years ago.
Wow.
That's in a 270. So it was built as a mountain rifle, and that's my main rifle that I use in the Midwest for whitetails. And I just took that as a backup gun. I took a new 300 short mag that I had him build last year, and I really planned on using the short mag. But, you know, I was jammed up in the weeks beforehand. I got the rifle. It took me forever to get the optic. I got the optic set. I was working up a load the week before I left. And so I get up there only having shot the gun a little bit. And the morning that I was going out, the first morning, I reached inside the gun case and I looked at both, and I just thought, man, I've shot that 270 a lot of times. And so I grabbed the 270. So yeah, I actually shot that with a 270, 130 grain bullet, but you know, it was 110 yards maybe. I could put it high on his shoulder and the moose went straight down. So
yeah,
it is about bullet placement. You got to have a premium bullet. I had that. So I was very comfortable with that shot, with that rifle, and it all worked out.
Man, lucky. It just, I mean, that's one of those trips though that, I mean, you would love to do a lot of stuff. I mean, because almost everything that I hear you always do is all, you know, your own properties or something like that. But something like that, when you're traveling abroad or you're traveling, you know, somewhere else to hunt, different states, stuff like that, that you aren't familiar with, it's always easiest, man, just go with a guide. There's no shame in it.
Right.
And,
yeah. We had a great guide. He was a full-time, his full-time job is running a big maple tree farm, right? So he's a maple syrup farmer, basically.
Oh, nice. It's a good place to be.
We came back with both Matt and I came back with a full case of maple syrup, both of us. So that was pretty cool. And he was a really good guide. Little bit of an English barrier there, you know, in that part of Canada, they're all,
right,
you know, French Canadian. And, but just an awesome experience with that guide. There's a lot of places that I hunt by myself. And, you know, I grew up in the Midwest. I hunt a lot of Midwest whitetails, and I'm comfortable doing that. Man, I'd never been in the moose woods before, had no idea what to do. That's exactly when I'm taking a guide.
That's right. Yeah. Especially if you're hunting game that you're not familiar with in territories you're not familiar with. Well, a guide is the way to go. Well, you had a great archery season. You had a great rifle season. Walk us through your whitetail season.
Yeah. So my biggest accomplishment last year was I've been married for 31 years. My wife has never really been interested in hunting, and right before, well, I guess not right before, last spring, my wife told me that she really wanted to start hunting with me. And so I was able, you know, we got my wife all outfitted, and mainly we're hunting out of Banks blinds with her. So, you know, elevated, you know, 10-foot platforms, and primarily looking over food plots. But being able to hunt with my wife was awesome. I mean, that was probably the highlight of my year. My wife did not end up killing a deer. We hunted for both archery season. I had her set up with a raven, and then we hunted during muzzleloader during rifle season, and had a great experience. My wife passed on 2 bucks in probably the low 130s, and she looked at both of them and said, "That's not big enough. We're gonna wait." We knew we had bigger deer there. Unfortunately, we just never saw them. The one day that she decided not to go during archery season, she wanted to sleep in. I went ahead and went and shot an archery buck that morning. If my wife had been with me, she would have been able to shoot it. But that's the way that it worked out, right? But the highlight of the season was just being able to spend time with my wife in the deer woods. And, you know, for me, that was a dream. I'd always wanted to hunt with my wife, and this year we made it happen. It was pretty awesome.
Man, I mean, you might be one of the few guys that would say that. I joke, but man, my wife, she just does not have an interest in it. She just says, "That's your thing. You go do it with the boys," and that's it. Like, now that might be my fault because I really haven't encouraged her to do it. But she went with me a couple times, you know, right around the time we were getting married and like early dating, like time frame. So maybe she was just trying to impress me, but both times were not very good experiences. One time she just decided to stay in the truck, and well, we were going to stay in the cabin. She was going to stay in the cabin and I was going to go hunt, and I forgot where the key was. And so she had to stay in a cold truck, and she ended up not wanting, this is funny. She did not want to turn the truck on because she thought it would interfere with the deer. So like I get back to the truck and she's got like old socks like around her hands and stuff. And I'm like, why didn't you just turn and of course I didn't see any deer, and she
Sure.
saw deer from the truck. So go figure. But she was like, I didn't want to like spook the deer for your hunt, because I had deer all around the truck, and I was like, well, I didn't see anything. And she was freezing cold. Like, and that's the last time she went hunting with me. So, so I don't think I'm going to get her back in the deer woods.
Well, my wife was always that way. She hates to get up early, and you know how it is. A lot of times you got to get up really early to hunt, and then she hates being cold. But we were watching the Drury's, the Drury outdoors TV show, maybe last spring, and my wife says, "Well, what is that they're in?" And I was trying to explain to her what an elevated box blind was, right? And so she said, "Well, are those insulated?" Yeah, baby, those are insulated. Do they have heaters in them? Yeah, you can put heaters in them. She said, if you had one of those, I would hunt with you. So now
that allowed you to get some of those.
That's right. Now we have 3 of those, and each one has their own heater, right? So I would say I've never, almost all of my life, I've hunted out of stands, right? I'm not a
hang
box
on or
blind
something
guy,
like that.
but man, if it gets me out with my wife, I'm a box blind guy. So
maybe that's
cool.
maybe that's the route I should go. Like maybe I should go like, hey, they've got heated blinds if you want. She still wouldn't go for it because that requires like spending a little bit more money. So
yeah, hunting can be
it's interesting talking about like different stand types and different, like it all depends on the property, on what you're hanging. A lot of guys, they hunt out of blinds out of necessity because they don't have trees big enough to hang stands on. A lot of guys won't have hang on stands because they've got so much hardwoods they can just hang a tree stand or a ladder stand and be good with it. But maximizing and utilizing like your property is what it's all about in the end. And you were talking last week and you were like, oh yeah, Dr. Grant Woods is going to come check out my property. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second. the guy, Dr. Tier, like Grant Woods is going to come out, and you had a chance to walk around with him on your property, which I think is about the coolest thing you could do. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I've known Grant for a long time. I had some friends that introduced him to me, I don't know, 15 or 18 years ago, a long time ago. And I went down to his place, the Proving Grounds in Southwest Missouri. They're kind of over by Branson, and was able to do a shed hunt on his place. And we just had a great time, right? And I have worked with Grant over the years, and certainly when you're in the industry, you always want to help people out. And I don't sponsor Grant, right? We don't do any television sponsorship here at Hodgdon, but I love Grant. I love what he's about, his knowledge, his passion. I like everything about Grant. And I always said, someday I want to bring Grant over to one of the places that I hunt and walk it with me. And so we had the opportunity to do that last Friday. Grant and Seth, his intern this year, came over and walked the property with us. And I learned so much just in that. He was at our place for, I don't know, 5 hours maybe. My wife made us a really big lunch. She had served moose chili, and we just had a great time, right? It was a fantastic day spent with those guys. But I learned an awful lot. I've been hunting whitetails my whole life. I mean, that is my passion. And you think you know just a little bit about it, and then you walk around with somebody like Grant, and I realize, I'm a bigger goober than I thought I was, right? I know nothing. He really does know everything. And, every 10 feet we'd go along, Grant would pick up, a bush and say, do you know what this is? I felt like it was a pop quiz, right? I didn't know what that was. That's Japanese honeysuckle, and you've got to eradicate it or it will take over this whole ridge, right? I had problems I didn't even know about.
Really?
So I thought that was super interesting. He really helped me, as a whitetail guy. You watch the Drury's, and I'm a big fan of Mark and Terry and what they do. And I think I've learned a lot from them. And so, when I look at our place, I think, we need more food plots, right? A lot of timber, we need more food plots. And so, I've raided every area on my farm. I kind of know what we need to do. And I thought the number one priority was food plots. And Grant came and looked at my place and said, no, I mean, your food plots are good. We can improve the access. But your number one issue is cover. This time of year, your woods are too dense. You have too many cedars. We need to improve the cover. So instead, here I thought I was going to be knocking down a bunch of trees to put in more food plots for the spring. And instead, I'm going to be doing a lot of hack and squirt and probably some tree girdling, getting rid of unwanted species of trees so that I can start converting over a lot of my ground to cover, a lot of the timber areas to cover. So I thought more than anything, I just learned a lot from walking around with Grant. And, it's not inexpensive, right? But hunting is not inexpensive. And I'm not somebody who works in the industry and tries to use my connections to get free stuff. I have a lot of friends, but I want to pay them for the work. Grant came out. I'm, I don't know, 3 or 3.5 hours from his place. He had gas expense and all that getting there. I paid what everybody else pays.
Yep.
But it's worth it for me to be able to have that opportunity to walk the ground with him and really siphon out some of that knowledge. So it wasn't just that day. He's also sent me a report, and now I'm using that report to kind of figure out what do I need to do over the next 3, 5, and 10 years to continue to improve what I've already done, right? So that's one of the things I love about hunting is it's not just, when you kill a deer, that's great. But man, it's all the work that went into that, right? It's the food plots that you put in. It's the cover. It's the access to water. It's the access paths in and out to your stands. It's making sure that you have plenty of stands to hunt the right wind. It's paying attention to the wind. It's paying attention to what time of year it is. There's 1,000 variables to go into that. And, no matter how much you're in the woods, being able to be in the woods with somebody like Grant Woods is a game changer for me, just in terms of the knowledge I was able to pick up from him.
Well, and to be able to sit there and apply that to any other property that you might encounter. And I think that's one of the bigger things that I would, just sucking that knowledge out of what he's saying to you in the report that you got, and to be able to identify, bad trees or bad shrubs that might take over hillsides, and just understanding that can transfer over into so many properties. I would be scared to death for him to come out to our places and go, you have zero cover. It's Oklahoma, it's flat. But that's interesting. That's an interesting takeaway, because he is such a wealth of knowledge and he has seen it all. It's funny you mentioned Mark and Terry Drury, man. I remember they're some of the OGs in hunting television, and I've looked up to those guys my entire life. Only met them a couple times, but you learn so much by watching them. And Grant Woods is just the exact same way.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that there is an affiliation there. I know that Grant knows them, and I think it's pretty good friends with them. I'm the same way. I've met Mark and Terry several times. We're not close friends. I have some close friends that are really good with him, but I know Matt. I know Matt Drury a little bit, and when I took off for my moose hunt, I guess I went over a day early and I had lunch with Matt, was kind of talking to him about the fall. And Matt has a really interesting story about his farm. And I was saying that's one of the blessings that we have in this industry, right? When you get to know really cool people who take the time out of their day to share what they're working on and help you improve your knowledge, right? And at the end of the day, whether we're talking reloading or farm management or whatever, look, there's a lot of smart people out there. And there's a lot of smart people that I can learn from, because I'm not necessarily one of those smart people, and I need a lot of those smart people around.
I'm in that same boat. but I can listen.
I can too.
I can listen and apply. That I can do. But well, man, anything else coming up for you? What's this season looking like for you so far?
Yeah, so I have some friends coming over. Let's see, in a few weeks. So we're 6 or 7 weeks out from Missouri turkey season. Yeah. So I have a buddy that's coming over from Ohio, and another buddy that's coming over with him from Missouri that is going to hunt on our place, and we'll try to get them turkeys, and I'll do a little bit of turkey hunting, hopefully with my wife. And then this fall, I'm just focused on Midwest whitetail. So I'll be in Missouri and Kansas hunting pretty much all seasons, trying to make sure that that I get as much time in the deer woods as I can.
Hey man, that's the exact same thing I'm going to be doing. It's a whitetail focus year. I've got one more year for Iowa. So I'm going to put in for a point this year for Iowa, and then the following year I'll be back in Iowa. Cannot wait for that. It's there. He killed a giant. I got to send you a picture of that deer. That is a special deer that my buddy Jeremy King killed. But Aaron, I sure do appreciate you jumping on here with us.
Anytime. I appreciate you having us. Always fun talking about new products and what we're doing here at Hodgdon. So anytime you need us, let us know.
Will do, because man, once I get my load set up for the 22-250 and probably the 7 PRC, definitely want to get you on to give you a report.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
All right. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Gun Talk Hunters. Hope you're enjoying the woods. Hey, get out there and go shoot some predators. Help the deer populations. But as always, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.